Greetings from Seoul, Korea. Welcome to GOMTV.net, where we are bringing you action for the WCS Korea Season 2 Star League. And before we even talk about today's games, let's talk about what happened just 2 days ago.
Well,
because that was weird.
Well, Taste, as you can see on the screen, Maru 4-0'd Innovation. Nobody was expecting that.
Out of all the possible results, even with the score, I don't think anybody expected Maru to go 4-0 against
That was the
Innovation.
least likely result of
That
all.
was a shocker.
A 4-1 would have been more likely. An 0-4 would have been more likely. But Maru pulled it out. Innovation failed to adapt against a very cheesy play. And
yeah, it was cool because he starts out with a cheese in game 1, and then in game 2, it's an even cheesier, more all-in-ish
And then the third game, it was even cheesier than that.
Yeah, you couldn't actually get cheesier than game number 3.
He had to reset and go back to the front where it wasn't really cheesy that much.
So, really wild series there. Definitely check it out. And I can't blame Maru for actually playing like that.
No.
I think in a standard game, Innovation's probably going to win.
Maru is in the finals, so you can't blame him for anything he did. I don't care if he sacrificed a go over a fire. Okay, while wearing a cloak. It doesn't matter. Whatever he did to get there, man, he's there.
It's pretty impressive. You can see Innovation couldn't quite adapt to what was being thrown at him there. So, yeah, Maru goes 4-0 and is now in the finals. He may be the first Royal Roader here if he actually manages to win here in this tournament.
You know, he's actually the youngest player in an OSL finals. Beat out Flash.
He is a little bit older than Life
was,
right?
Yeah, Life was GSL finals, though, so there's a difference there.
So, you know, today we should have a much closer series, but after what happened Tuesday, I don't really know if you can predict much here. We do have Rain against Bomber.
It's a tough match to predict, actually, Tasteless.
Yeah.
Rain and Bomber. I think they're actually a pretty good match for each other.
You know, what's weird about this is I feel like regardless of, well, let me put it like this. The winner here today should be able to beat Maru, which also feels a little bit weird to say because Maru did beat Innovation, but I think the circumstances in which he beat Innovation are what you have to look at. Yeah,
I would definitely say that both these players are favorites against Maru. So whoever wins here tonight, I would definitely say has the edge going into the finals.
Should win this tournament.
Yeah, Bomber very strong at TVT, and Rain, you can't really cheese this guy out. He's super safe.
Yeah, you know, when you look at a player like Rain, this is one of these guys where if you're learning how to play StarCraft and you're playing Protoss, this is probably the person to study.
Definitely,
because, especially for laddering, you know, you can play against anybody. You don't even know who they are. Using strats like his are just really safe. It's very conservative, orthodox, textbook Protoss play.
Yeah, it's what you want to do. But here's the thing. Bomber knows how to abuse people for playing in certain ways. He may do things like go quick 3 command centers, which means, you know, I think Rain probably looked at this and realized this could happen as well. So I think he might mix in, because this is such a big match, a best of 7, he might mix in some other play, some more aggressive play.
Bomber had kind of a funny run throughout this tournament so far, because this was the tournament where there was a patch right in the middle, but the Hellbats were really strong.
Yeah.
He was doing a really good job abusing the Hellbats in the game, and then that got patched, and here's where he is now. So we're going to see what he's got here today. But I feel like against Rain, I think for prediction here, I would probably say I think Rain wins just by a small margin. But it's hard to say because Bomber is he's bringing a lot more dynamic play in big series than what we're used to seeing.
I think that you just said it really well. He's bringing very dynamic play. I think he's going to be hard to actually counter correctly all the time.
Right.
You know, I do have to lean a little bit towards Rain, but the type of heater that Bomber has been on, the types of strategies that he keeps bringing in over and over, I would not be surprised if he actually gets yet another upset here.
Yeah, no, it absolutely could happen. It is a best of 7, so first to 4 wins here. Now, when you're in a series like this, the semifinals, it's really important that you pick the right builds on the right maps because, which, for instance, Maru did in that last series that we casted. It's one of these situations where it's hard to squeeze out a win, to pull a fast one on somebody. I guess Maru vs. Innovation is almost the exception to that. But generally speaking, you know, when you have potentially 7 maps you're going to be playing on, assuming it goes to that final game, there's a lot of different builds you have to deliver. You can't really just do the same thing every time.
No.
Whereas you could, if, for instance, in a best of 3.
And, you know, Rain is someone, though, that will, if he needs to, back up into, and it's funny to say if he needs to, but he sometimes in this matchup backs up into doing the same thing every time, which is the ultra defensive, upgrade-centric PvT play that he's so good at. And, you know, I've seen this like in the last OSL that he actually ended up winning. Against last, he went down like 0-3 to very cheesy, aggressive play. And then he just buttoned everything up and just defended, came back, won that match, and then won the whole tournament. Yeah. So that could be something that we see here tonight. Yeah, it's a possibility.
Our first map is going to be AUCTION Wastes. Now, this is a map that does reward conservative play, so I think Rain might have a small advantage here.
Got to agree with you there.
Excuse me. We'll have to see. You know, Bomber also has done a lot more all-ins, a lot of SCV pulling as well here, which he wasn't really incorporating into his play style before. Now, let's take a closer look at our two players. First one here is Rain.
Yeah, Rain. You know, this is the Protoss that. I'm trying to think of all the different Protoss guys I know. Almost every Protoss player I know has this guy as their favorite player because he is the one that, as you say, Tasteless, this is the guy you study. You want to get better at this game? You want to build an actual skill base of good mechanics and solid defensive play? He is your man. He's the best in the world at that, bar none.
So, you know, he's going to be either he'll be a PvT Finals or, you know, a TVT Finals here, but I think Rain has got a good shot going into this, but you can't count Bomber out. It's funny because last year we were saying that, you know, eventually Bomber should be a champion of some major tournament like a GSL Code S, for instance. Yeah. And then, you know, it never happened, and I don't know about you, Artosis, but I had kind of concluded, all right, this guy is no longer a front runner. Yeah. And now here he is in the Final Four. I was a bit surprised.
To be honest, Tasteless, I think that was accurate as well. He was not really a front runner, and in fact, I did not think at all he would get this far based on current play. So
now, here are some of the player stats we have. We didn't derive these mathematically from the games because it's a little bit tricky to do stuff like that for popularity and micro and things like that. But what we did do is we polled all of the Korean esports journalists who basically follow every single professional StarCraft 2 game and asked them to rank where they feel, for instance, in this case, Rain, where he scores in each of these different attributes. And as you can see, we didn't ask just once. We asked as they advanced each round of the tournament. So at this point in time, Rain with some very high ranks amongst everything except for Cheese, which is not really a shocker. Rain is possibly the most conservative Protoss we've ever had. So in other words, he's not going to try to take a risk and win. He's going to win with just solid, you know,
he's going to win because you're going to make mistakes.
Well said. Yeah, you said it better than I could, Artosis. Now here's a shot at Bomber here. I had no idea his ranking was now at 4, but I guess if he's this deep in the tournament,
makes sense. Yeah.
It boosts him up.
Doing very well here. You know, I think the most startling thing we've seen from him, I think 2 matches really stand out for him in this tournament so far. That 2-0 against Flash with really different strats. Flash just kind of got rolled. And then that 3-0 against First. First showed us the strongest, scariest PvTs ever seen in StarCraft 2 against Fantasy, who's an amazing TVP player. But then against Bomber, he was just completely impotent, and Bomber rolled him.
Yeah. So that was a surprise. There's been a few games this tournament that I feel like we're in an alternate dimension where like, I mean, even just like 2 days ago with Mara winning that game, I'm kind of like, what?
Very true. You know, that's
there's been some of the, you know, the way Flash went down, the way Fantasy went down.
It
was a big surprise.
Some weird stuff. Well, as you can see, Bomber's stats obviously going way up because he really, coming into the season, was not seen as someone who would probably even get a round of 8, let alone a round of 4, and possibly even a championship at this point.
He actually scored in the 70s for a lot of stuff here in the round of 32, so huge boost here,
you know,
for him.
It's actually, it warms my heart to see Bomber do so well, Tasteless. I used to live with this guy in the Easter House. He was actually the best English speaker there. And helped me out a lot, and now here he is, just kicking ass. It's great.
Yeah, it's really exciting. I don't know if he's going to get to the finals. I think, again, as I've said before, anybody who does out of these two, Rain or Bomber, get to the finals, they should, I think, and I don't know because we were totally wrong about Innovation beating Morrow last time, but I would assume they should be able to beat Morrow. We'll have to see.
I think, again, Bomber, his TVT just will match up well against Maru. Like,
well, I feel like Bomber's TVT is a little bit more solid, whereas Mario tends to win off of off of engagements, off of out-controlling his opponent. Yeah. When you look at even in that last series, what he did is well-chosen cheeses, but then he controlled them perfectly and got the win.
Yeah. And, with Rain is so good defensively that if he just decides to defend completely against Maru's already shown us, which is actually really smart, if he doesn't think he can beat you in macro, he'll just cheese you. That's fine.
He'll do it all in.
But, I don't know that he can beat Rain in macro or in cheesing. That's a tough matchup for him, I think. Probably the toughest Protoss for him in the world.
I got to agree with that, actually. By the way, guys, for coming to the studio, thank you so much. Welcome. You at home can come to our studio. It is here at Samsung Station in the Gangnam area here in Seoul. This is our new studio, but this is a piggybacked broadcast. That's why we don't have the players here in the studio. This is actually, as far as where the games are being held, it's being done by OnGameNet. Normally, we have the games here. Because we're piggybacked on this broadcast, we have to wait for the OnGameNet production to start the games, so there might be some bumpiness here compared to what you're used to watching. But regardless, the game should be awesome nonetheless.
They're going to be. I think that this series is going to be way better than Tuesdays. And even though that was a 4-0, I still enjoyed this series just because it was like...
the results were what were cool, more so than the games.
Yeah.
So... Again, more details here about Rain and Bomber, who have been tearing through this tournament. It's funny because Innovation, I would expect him to be in the Final Four. Rain, of course, I can imagine him being here. But, with Maru and Bomber, I was very caught off guard by that. And there's a chance that Bomber will win this, and we would have the finals that nobody would have predicted at the start of the season.
Yeah, it's so true, Tasteless. Like, coming into this season, I thought that, it'd be like Innovations up there, Sulky's up there, maybe Flash, maybe Rain, maybe Parting, maybe Life.
Or maybe one Dark Horse.
Yeah.
I thought it was 4. But, it's interesting to see how the landscape of who's on top is changing.
Yeah, it certainly is. And to see someone like Bomber come back is awesome. But can he come back against someone who is the defending champion of the OSL?
Now, here's our map lineup. Acheron Waits, Anaconda, Belshir Vestige, Star Station, Whirlwind, say it, Artosis.
Gwangali,
and Newkirk Redevelopment Precinct.
Yeah, all right.
I can't read that when it's in English letters still.
As far as the map lineup goes, just for whatever reason, my brain is telling me this is slightly good for Rain, the order of the maps.
Yeah, I think so, actually.
Just looking at the way it opens up those first 3.
He should be having a hard time on the 4th map, Star Station. I would not be surprised if Bomber wins there.
4th and 5th are going to be the harder ones for him, but I feel like he can probably take 2 of the first 3 maps, and I think that's what he's going to need to do.
Yeah, well, I mean, even if you're up 3-0, even if the rest of the maps are hard for you, you have enough wiggle room, enough room to experiment, so you should be able to pull through, but we'll see. Again, the winner here of this best of 7 will be going on into the finals against the very young Maru Prime. Our map is going to be Acheron Waste, and it looks like the game is now loading. So get ready. We are here in Seoul, Korea, where the best esports players reside, playing the best game in esports StarCraft 2 here at GOMTV.net. Over here in the bottom right, we have the most conservative Protoss player here in the Final Four. He is
Grandmaster, SK Telecom T1 Rain.
And his opponent over here in the upper left. Will this be his tournament? We thought he was going to have a championship last year. Now's his chance. He is
Master, Startail Bomber.
Well, and now we wait to see what exactly is, well, probably Bomber going to pop out. Because, Rain could do something crazy. It's a possibility, but how crazy could Rain truly get?
Well, I feel like Bomber's got, I guess, more builds in his toolkit, more strategies at his disposal. Whereas, with somebody like Rain, for instance, it's just expect him to defend, like Karate Kid, wax off, wax on.
I actually want to go over something with you, Tasteless, because
Yeah,
we
let's
talk
do that.
about stuff like this specifically a lot. Like, cheesing in the first game of like a best of 5 or best of 7.
Oh yeah, we've
you
talked
and I
about this
both
a lot.
like
Actually,
that a lot.
Even off camera, we
yeah,
talk about this a lot.
Yeah, and you know, to just kind of review the types of things that Tasteless and I think about that, it's oftentimes something like you're a little bit more nervous in the first game, so to decide it quickly and possibly get the win there, it can be very nice. Throws your opponent off, makes a defensive stance for the rest of the time. But I do feel in this best of 7 for Rain, I feel like he should play a defensive first game.
I think you're right. Now, we do have a quick command center here from Bomber, and this is going to be a bit of an issue because that was an early probe scout.
Yeah.
Which means this SCV can now get harassed. And potentially this could just cost him, you know, an early expo if he's not doing a good enough job of keeping this SCV. It's a little bit tricky because the SCV moves randomly when it's building the command center, so it's hard to actually keep it safe from the probe attacking it.
Indeed, and the probe is causing him quite a bit of lost mining time. And he sees that 2 Raxes are coming up, and this tells him a lot. When
Yes.
you see 2 Raxes after the command center instead of a Rax and a gas, this means you don't need detection all that quickly. Rain can be really greedy as long as he has enough units to successfully micro against and hold off a Marine push.
Again, this probe still doing a lot of damage. He might actually get this SCV taken out here before the command center would finish, which if he did would be huge because this command center is, as you can see by the supply, supposed to be synced up so it finishes and actually acts as the next depot here, and he just barely does finish that in time.
And it looks like a Marine will pop out to save this SCV's life, but a really good try by Rain. Now, Rain does want to get out of there with the probe, and he does. And you know what? I like the opening for Rain. It's very nice.
Yeah, no, I think he's in great shape so far. He doesn't have like a massive lead, but he's caused a few hiccups so far in the build. And we actually have a 3rd barracks. Is there a possibility we're going to have a bunch of SCVs pulled here?
There is a big possibility that we could see that, Tasteless. You know, I'm trying to think of what else this could possibly be.
Yeah, because you actually can't not have gas by now, so that, as far as I could tell, he probably will do a Marine SCV all in here. Which, again, is a form of cheesing. It's how we saw Maru beat Innovation, some way to do some crazy all-in and deflect it.
And he's still not getting any gas, so we will see about that. The Robo does come up, but, you know, he's still got just 1 gas.
This is going to be a problem because there's a high chance that our Protoss player Rain might get a sentry coming up here, which will not help him in any way.
Yeah, I would just stall it out momentarily at the bottom of that ramp, but the natural could be hurt. Now, Bomber is getting a couple gases, so this is the one other thing it could be, is that when he hits with his first push that has medevacs in it, his army is going to be a way different size than what Rain expects, because in PvT, in the early game, your aim as a Protoss player is to have exactly enough to make sure the Terran can't do anything to you.
Early game PvT is a bit of a tightrope walk.
It
for
is.
Protoss. It's a big balancing act of having the right combination of units to hold off that attack that is going to be inevitable here. So, as you know, we saw there, he does get the gases, so this is not going to be that SCV pull that we thought it could have been.
Yeah. So, you know, I think this is just going to be like a really Marine-heavy attack that he goes into, and oh boy, is it going to be Marine-heavy. But, you know, this well, 3 Raxes
is Marine-heavy attack. Oh boy, it's going to be Marine-heavy.
It's going to more Marines than I've seen in an early game attack in a very long time, Tasteless, that's for sure.
So, looks like the eBay's almost finished for the Protoss. We have the Twilight Council as well as the Forge. Warp Gate literally just finished. And I gotta say, I like where Bomber is so far now. Now that he's teching up, you're right, this could throw Rain off big time with this attack that just could be so strong and knock him off balance.
Yeah. And you know what Rain is doing right now? He's, by the way, the new patch is out, and I love that this is built into StarCraft now that you can zoom out like that.
Yeah, I'm actually really. It's nice because occasionally we get battles that are so big we can't capture it on the entire screen.
Yeah.
You know.
So cheers to Blizzard for doing that. But
yep, they keep improving this game.
Now, Rain is doing just a slightly safer, slower version of a build that trapped it against Supernova already in this tournament, going for a very quick Warp Prism with very quick Templar Archives. And when your opponent plays like his opponent is right now, you can do something like this and get like a pretty quick Storm and get that Warp Prism out.
All right, so that Warp Prism is moving out now. This is a good way to pin Bomber into his base, because if he tries to leave, then you can fly in there with that Warp Prism and do a lot of damage.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how much damage he can really get done. He's going to probably wait, because he does have good vision on the map, to see when Bomber leaves his base, because that is exactly when you want to go in and harass, because they're not going to have units at home.
Right.
And if they have to walk back, it's already a victory, even if you kill nothing with your 3 Zealots.
Well, you stalled them. You're controlling their ability to move around on the map.
Yeah.
Now, I would expect Rain to not arbitrarily run in here, because that not only should not be effective, but also then he knows there's a Warp Prism outside the base, and he can try to get some fail safes for that.
Very true indeed.
But Terran's moving out now. Okay, so when you let the Terran get far enough out in the middle of the map, that's when you want to send the Warp Prism in. Protoss does have that armor upgrade, by the way, so the Zealots are going to be a little bit meatier here.
Yeah, and you know what? This is a lot of Marines, as mentioned previously, Tasteless. Now here comes the drop. Now Rain, this drop probably will do some decent damage, but he really needs to defend at home. That's the only thing he needs to pay attention to. He must hold this push.
Yeah, and you don't want to overcommit here and send too many Zealots into the main or the expansion here of Terran, because they can just run you over. And now we have a drop coming up over here. This is going to create a nice concave. He's not attacking with everything. There's actually still units inside the medevacs here.
And those force fields actually working against the Zealots after a little bit, but Rain has a pretty decent amount. He has to be careful here. His Psystorm just finished up, but no High Templars that I can see.
Command center now being hit. And it looks like Bomber just barely going to clean this up. But again, he's attacking in here, and I don't know if there's actually enough to stop this right now.
Yeah, this is just more units than what Rain was expecting. He was playing as if it was a more normal build.
More tech-heavy, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Build. Nice control here by Bomber. It's really just that Nexus cannon defending. Now, Bomber's base back at home. The economy is in shambles, but the real story here is the entrance to Rain's base, which just has, it looks like too much of everything that's Terran.
Yeah, it is. He might end up losing all of these probes as well, but an Immortal comes out, and that Immortal is going to help him to hold this Tasteless.
Yeah,
suddenly,
that Immortal was a game changer.
Yeah, if he didn't have that, I think he just loses there.
I think he might still just lose here. He's just going to send all these Marines and medevacs, Marauders too, over to the entrance, and he needs to get another Immortal out here, because the number of Marauders is just high enough that it's really scary. And now, as you can see with Rain's, okay, so he's going to pull the SCVs now, and this is about as all in as you can go, so this game should be ending shortly. Who will be the victor, though? We're going to find out soon.
And, he's keeping that pressure on, so all he can do is feedbacks into Archons with these High Templars. What he really needs for these SCVs, though, is a Psystorm Tasteless, and he has no Templars right now.
Now, this is, there's no turning around here for Terran. He's going to use all of the rest of his workers here to sponge up the damage in the front.
The Archon's doing a great job right now. All the probes have been pulled as well. And will Rain actually end up holding? Oh my god, it looks...
I think he's actually going to hold.
And now the SCV kill count is at 25 against just 13 probes killed. And Rain has the advantage as far as supply, but Bomber's not done yet, coming back up this ramp.
Now note the factory over here is meant to absorb some damage. You can see the Archons are attacking that now. That can mess with the AI. That actually might be a game changer right here at this moment.
Oh, this is getting close. He's trying to save energy on these 2 High Templars. All the medevacs are very low right now, and he continues to use all the probes. He needs every hit point possible, because if he breaks his push, he can win.
All right, all Protoss has to do is survive for the next minute or two here, but it looks like Bomber just...
Oh! Big Psystorms going down. A ton of medevacs falling as well. Does he have enough to actually hold? That Immortal looks like it will be picked off, and that's quite a few units
everything
left.
Terran is just not quite dying right now. Well, he does still have a little parade of units pushing down across the map, and it's 23 probes to 17, but I feel like there should be just barely enough stims left that this army can continue to kite. The Terran army can continue to kite the Protoss army, excuse me.
Well, he does have a couple Archons. He's got to actually connect, though. He's having such a hard time with that. Bomber's trying to target those down. He's actually skipping the Zealots, knowing he can out-micro those any day. Oh my god, this is so close, Tasteless, but
Is there enough for a Nexus cannon?
No, not at all.
Oh, really? Okay.
He actually used it on that Time Warp, so he's basically empty there, and it looks like this is it. It looks like Bomber has broken through.
Just barely won this game.
So close.
Yeah, no kidding. Really close. Now he's going to try to warp in Zealots over here in the main. But, yep, that's going to be a GG.
Wow. All right. I tell you what.
That was a hard battle to call there.
A game one very befitting for these two.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, the thing is, he only got like one storm off the entire time. He spent a lot of resources getting into Psy Storm. Never really got to utilize it. Bomber hit, just kept that pressure up. It was actually really well played by both sides, but Bomber, with that third Rax Tasteless, he had more units than what Rain was ready for, and that's what's important.
Split decision-making there, too. I mean, he said, all right, I've lost too much, but I'm also forced into a position where I have to commit to this attack.
Yeah.
I'm going to take my SCVs and go all in and decide this right now. It was a good decision, backed up with fantastic control there from Bomber. There were a few moments where it looked like just barely Rain was going to deflect it, but Bomber's control is just too good, and that's one of the fundamental difficulties of when you have just Zealots and Archons, is that the Terran has a ground army that's a little bit faster and therefore can outmaneuver that army from the Protoss.
It is so true, Tasteless. I love the decision-making there by both sides. Fantastic game number one. If the whole series looks like this, I'll be happy.
Well, this is starting out to be very action-packed. Our next map is going to be Anaconda. And this could actually be a very good map here for Rain, but Bomber is really proving to be a truly dynamic player.
He is, and you know, I love how he's just changing these small things, just going against the grain of the metagame slightly, like that third barracks that we had to point out and talk about.
We actually thought that was going to be an SCV pull before gas.
Well, because it's so different.
It's so rare, right? Yeah.
And notice how he didn't even commit to an SCV push, which you normally see someone push out with like 7, 8 Marines off of the 2 barracks after Command Center. But he's like, well, I need every little unit so that first push can catch him off guard, and it did exactly that. Yeah,
you know, one thing to note is when that Warp Prism got inside the Terran's base, he's warping in Zealots, he's doing a lot of damage to the economy, but the fact that the Protoss didn't know there would be this many ground units meant he was unable to hold the entrance to his base. And harass is great, but you know what's more important than harass is actually being able to keep your base in one piece.
That is true.
So as much as he damaged Bomber's economy, he couldn't hold off. It almost would have been better had Rain actually sacked his expansion and gone on the high ground.
Maybe, man. You know, he needed to hold for a little bit longer, and he would have had enough. Bomber just, by the skin of his teeth, took that one down. Yeah, really interesting game. Let's see if this one's going to be as good. It looks like the game is now loading. Again, our map is going to be Anaconda. Bomber up 1, but Rain still has a shot to turn this around. Let's see if he does that here at GOMTV.net.
Let's take a life.